Mr. Speaker, will you please call the House to order?
The House will come to order. Reverend Elijah will offer a prayer.
Let us pray. Gracious and holy God, we see the violence of mass shooting most recently in Orlando, and collectively our soul refuses to be comforted. And yet we would come before you seeking comfort for those who lost loved ones, comfort and healing for the injured, recovery for the community, and an end to violence everywhere. We pray for the inclusion of peoples, including the LGBTQ community, and an end to bigotry and discrimination. Bless our brothers and sisters in the Muslim community during this holy season of Ramadan. Help us all to work together and to do the things that make for peace. As the Assembly gathers on this day, lift any who come with heavy hearts and empower those who are weary. There is business to be conducted, and we pray that as the session draws to a conclusion, what needs to be accomplished will be completed. Grant them courage and strength, and equip the Assembly for the tasks at hand. Pour out a generous blessing upon this body, their families, the staff, and all the people of our state and nation. Bring healing and peace to our land and to the world. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Visitors are invited to join members in the Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Before we begin our work for the day, I would like to pause for a moment to acknowledge the tragic events that took place in the city of Orlando early Sunday morning. On that fateful day, 49 lives were stolen in a hate-fueled attack, the likes of which have become all too common in our society. Dozens of injured victims are lying in hospitals as we speak, fighting for their lives, surrounded by their loved ones, and prayers from the people across the globe. Our hearts go out to all those who were touched by this senseless violence. We mourn the loss of these innocent lives whose only crime was living life on their own terms, free from the shadows of prejudice and discrimination. As New Yorkers, we must do what we do best, and that is to continue fighting to protect every citizen against bigotry and intolerance in all of its forms. In memory of the victims and with gratitude for the heroes who risked their lives in this tragic episode, later today, we will pass a resolution to show our solidarity with the people of Orlando and every community that was touched by this tragedy. I invite all members to join me in sponsoring this resolution. And now I invite members and all of our guests in the chamber to join me in a standing brief moment of silence. Thank you.
A quorum being present, the clerk will read the Journal of Monday, June 13th. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I move to dispense with further reading of the Journal of Monday, June 13th, and the same stand approved.
Without objection, so ordered. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, colleagues, we have a very busy day ahead, and I would ask for the members' cooperation to get through a significant body of work that's before us as we begin our final week. Members have on their desks a main calendar and a debate list. After any introductions and housekeeping, Mr. Speaker, we will begin our work today on consent beginning with Rules Report 174 on page 12 of the main calendar. The Rules Committee will meet, Ways and Means having already completed its work earlier this morning. Rules will produce 3 calendars, an A, B, and C calendar. We will work from those today as well, and we will continue to work off the main calendar and the debate list. Members should be aware if you're on any of the following committees, we will be holding them off the floor, so you should pay special attention to notices from the desk. Committee on Cities, Codes, Insurance, Labor, Real Property Taxation, and Ways and Means. Members on both sides of the aisle should note that there will be the need for party conferences at some point today, perhaps early afternoon. So with that as a general outline, Mr. Speaker, if there are any introduction to housekeeping, this would be the appropriate time.
Certainly, housekeeping. On a motion by Ms. Rosenthal, page 8, Rules Report number 110, Bill number 172B. The amendments are received and adopted. On a motion by Mr. Cahill, page 41, calendar number 401, Bill number 7885A. Amendments are received and adopted. On a motion by Ms. Rosenthal, page 54, calendar number 569, Bill number 720, amendments are received and adopted. On a motion by Ms. People-Stokes, page 59, calendar number 606, Bill number 7707, amendments are received and adopted. On a motion by Mr. Magnarelli, page 67, calendar number 678, Bill number 7738, amendments are received and adopted. On a motion by Mr. Engelbright, page 80, calendar number 847, Bill number 9921A, amendments are received and adopted. We have an introduction by Ms. Dupree.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased once again this year to have the New Visions government class from the Franklin County BOCES here. Unfortunately, because it's the end of the year, we only have 2 students, but they're fantastic students. Kayla Jimenez and Matthew Artis are both joined here by their parents, David and Lisa Jimenez and Tammy Artis, as well as their instructor, Tracy Edwards Warren. And also joining them is Connor Palmer, who is a SUNY Potsdam student. So would you please welcome them to the chambers today?
Certainly, on behalf of Mr. Dupree, the Speaker, and all the members, we welcome these students and parents here to the New York State Assembly. We commend you for your interest in government. We extend to you the privileges of the floor. We hope you will enjoy the proceedings. We thank you for supporting good government in this state. Thank you so very much. Mr. Murray for an introduction.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With us today, we have several families from actually across the state that have come together today at the Capitol to join together. They actually came to witness a resolution we will be passing recognizing June 30th as Arthrogryposis Awareness Day. With us today from my district, we have Rebecca Gomez, and if I could ask all of them to stand in the back. Rebecca Gomez with her son Matthew, 21 months old. Rebecca is from the beautiful village of Bellport in my district and is the childhood best friend of one of my aides, Christina Sconzo. With her is Matthew. Matthew was diagnosed with arthrogryposis at 22 weeks gestation. He's been seen by 10 different specialists, has multiple surgeries, ongoing physical therapy, and is an inspiration to us each and every day with his drive and determination. Also with us today from Assemblyman Kevin Cahill's district, we have Lisa Lauren, who's a retired New York State police officer, served 21 years, retired as the captain in charge of the Bureau of Criminal Investigation at Troop K, and I believe that was Troop K all the way, right, Lisa? There you go. And her son, Roger, 6 years old, also in kindergarten, also an inspiration to us all. And from Assemblywoman Aileen Gunther's district, we have Amy and Francis Nielsen. Francis is retired Navy, so thank you for your service, sir. And their daughters are here with us. We have Robin, 6 years old, and Morwenna, 8 years old, joining us from Woodburn, New York. And again, Mr. Speaker, they've all come together today to join together to witness the passing of that resolution to bring more awareness to the disease, but also something that has bound them all together in one common cause. So if we could welcome them to the Capitol and extend the cordialities of the House, we'd appreciate that.
Certainly, on behalf of Mr. Murray, Ms. Gunther, Mr. Cahill, the Speaker, and all the members, we welcome these families here to the New York State Assembly, to those beautiful children that you have. We extend to you the privileges of the floor. We thank you for the work that you're doing to help other families as they face these difficult challenges. Thank you so very much. You are always welcome here. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Before we go to resolutions, I would ask members of the Rules Committee to begin to move to the Speaker's conference room. The Speaker is ready for the Committee on Rules.
Committee on Rules, Speaker's Conference Room. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, sir. If we could now go to page 3 of the main calendar, we're going to begin with Assembly Resolution 1514 by Mrs. Robinson, who I understand wishes to be heard on the resolution.
Clerk will read.
Assembly Number 1514. Assembly Resolution, rules at the request of Mrs. Robinson. Legislative resolution memorializing Governor Andrew M. Cuomo to proclaim June 19, 2016 as Juneteenth Day in the state of New York.
Ms. Robinson on the resolution.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker Pro Tem. Today, whereas this legislative body is justly proud to memorialize Governor Andrew M. Cuomo to proclaim June 19, 2016 as Juneteenth Day in New York State. And whereas this year marks the 151st anniversary of celebrating Juneteenth, which began on June 19, 1865, the date Union soldiers under the command of Major General George Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, with the news that the Civil War had ended and that all slaves were freed. And whereas one of General Granger's first orders was Order Number 3, which was read aloud to the people of Texas, of which stated, the people of Texas are informed that in accordance with a proclamation from the Executive of the United States, all slaves are free. This involves an absolute equity of rights and rights of property between masters and former slaves, and the connection of heretofore existing between them becomes that between employer and free laborer. And whereas many of the newly freed slaves stayed in their locations to learn about the new employer-employee relationship between themselves and their former masters, while others chose to reach family members in other states, and still others chose to move to the northern states. And whereas settling into new areas as free men and women brought on new realities and challenges of establishing a heretofore non-existent status, whereas settling into new areas as free men and women brought on new realities and challenges of establishing a heretofore non-existent status for Black people in America. And whereas the celebration of Juneteenth allowed freed slaves and their descendants to recount the memories of that great day in 1865, when freedom was proclaimed, and also served as a release from the pressures of settling in new territories. And whereas Juneteenth has been known by a variety of names, including Jun Jun, Freedom Day, Emancipation Day, and Emancipation Celebration. But regardless of what the day is called, it is a day to celebrate freedom. And whereas a wide range of activities became traditional at Juneteenth celebrations, including barbecuing, baseball, rodeos, fishing, and drinking strawberry soda, and whereas Juneteenth is a time of celebration, it is also a time for reflection, education, and self-improvement. Celebration participants listen to elders recount the past, attend prayer services, and learn from educational speakers. And whereas in some instances, Juneteenth participants were not permitted to use public parks to hold the celebrations. Activities sometimes took place on church grounds or in rural areas until more African Americans owned land and donated it for the festivities. One such park is Booker T. Washington Park in Mexia, Texas. And whereas in 1980, the state of Texas was the first state to recognize Juneteenth as an official state holiday, through the efforts of Al Edwards, an African-American state legislator, now therefore be it resolved that this legislative body pauses in deliberations to memorialize Governor Andrew M. Cuomo to proclaim June 19, 2016 and Juneteenth Day in New York State. And be it further resolved that this resolution suitably engrossed be transmitted to the Honorable Andrew M. Cuomo, Governor of the State of New York. Thank you.
On the resolution, Ms. Peoples-Stokes, on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to commend the sponsor of this Juneteenth resolution that she has done for every year since she's been here. It's a pleasure to stand with her and ask the governor to honor something that is very important to particularly African American people in this great state as well as in this country. This weekend in the city of Buffalo on the 19th, we will be celebrating our 41st annual parade, where there will be some 7,000 people out to do exactly what Member Robinson described in her resolution. That's celebrating the culture, educating our children, a lot of gospel music, and a wonderful, wonderful parade. So, Mr. Speaker, it is my honor to join Member Robinson on this resolution. In honor of doing so, I wear, which I wear very often, an ancient African Ndinkra symbol, which is in Sankofa, and it actually means that you need to know where you've been in order to know where you're going. The history of African Americans in America is rich and must be shared continuously at all times, and so I'm honored to have this opportunity to do so and to join Member Robinson in it.
Thank you,
Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Barron, on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support this resolution and to explode certain myths about our enslavement. You know, if you use 1619, the year that 20 Africans came to America, forced here to America in Jamestown, Virginia, that would be about 246 years of enslavement if you do 1619 to 1865, when the 13th Amendment was written to abolish slavery. And if you look at the 13th Amendment today, it reads that slavery shall be abolished except as a punishment for crime. We really went from the plantation to the penitentiary. And some of the first state penitentiaries were built when they were discussing the abolition of slavery. I want to expose another myth that Lincoln freed the slaves. The Emancipation Proclamation was a war document that was proclaimed in 1863. In 1863, 4 million African people were enslaved. By the end of the Civil War in 1865, 3.8 million of us were still enslaved. The Emancipation Proclamation read that all those states that are in rebellion to the Union, that's the Confederacy, your slaves are free. Well, Lincoln didn't have jurisdiction over those states because it was Jefferson Davis who was the president of the Confederacy. So at that time, there was 11 free states, 11 slave states. 8 of the slave states left the Union, and he said, your slaves are free. Well, he didn't have jurisdiction to do that, so none of them were free. The 4 states that stayed with the Union, that were slave states, he said, you could keep your slaves because this proclamation doesn't apply to you because you're not in rebellion. So Lincoln didn't free any of us. Lincoln was a racist. He said if he could save the Union without freeing any slaves, he would. If he had to free all the slaves, he would. He was just trying to save the Union. And Lincoln said, once the slaves are freed We should send them back to Africa so we can have a pure white America. I hate to explode your love for Abraham Lincoln, but that's the truth, y'all. The other piece about Juneteenth, which is so important, July 4th, the Day of Independence, 1776, that most of you celebrate, we were enslaved. I encourage you to read Frederick Douglass, his statement on July 4th on how he was totally angry that they were celebrating independence July 4th when we were sitting there in slavery in 1776, because it wasn't abolished to 1865. Juneteenth is important, but I want people to understand enslaved Africans weren't sitting on that plantation not knowing that they were free, because they weren't. The real heroes of our freedom were the so-called Buffalo Soldiers, the Africans who joined the Union to fight. They went from plantation to plantation, freeing enslaved Africans. It was those African Buffalo Soldiers that got to the fort in Texas and the plantation in Texas and freed the last few of enslaved Africans. So Juneteenth is our Independence Day, understanding that we still had to fight for independence from slavery even after Juneteenth. But we choose this day and not July 4th because this is the day that we freed ourselves, not Lincoln, from enslavement. So I rise to support this resolution, and I ask all my colleagues to do the same.
Mr. Rivera on the resolution.
I want to commend my colleague for this resolution. I would like to add just a little bit quickly to some of statement that I just heard from my brother. Unless I'm wrong, but we began to be free whether you live anywhere in the continental states of America. But let me share with all of you that during 1776, hundreds of Puerto Ricans and Cubans were helping the colonists to defeat England because they believed, both Cuban, Spanish, and Puerto Rican, that someday they will be free, that they will be free from Spain in the Caribbean. So they made a contribution. Years go by, and I dare say, as I read somewhere, or I heard maybe from Charles as we were crossing Brooklyn, the Brooklyn Bridge in 1978 against that Koch, and one of the many issues that was always anti-us, that African American in this country, like Native American from the West Coast, they say we can only be free if we learn their way, meaning the European way. They said their God is much powerful than us. They get to read the great book. So we have to learn how to read the great book. And unless somebody corrects me here, it was against the law for you to be taught in those days, in the 1860s, how to read the Bible. It was prohibited. And it was not when Africans like themselves and began to teach each other the power of the book. And it was years later, to try to be as quick as possible, it was years later that Dr. Martin Luther King used the great book to begin the process of liberating African Americans in this country. The great civil rights struggles. Puerto Ricans were not free at all to swim in Ocho Beach in the 50s or in the 60s. But it was in 1955 when Rosa Parks refused to get off the bus those of us who were growing up in Orchard Beach, in the Bronx, we say, if they can get up and fight for freedom, we can get up too and follow their leaders in walking, marching from Section 1 in the rocks in Orchard Beach to Section 9. Today, you can go to Orchard Beach. You can go on any given weekend, and you know that we're there because, you know, we love our barbecue ribs, and you can tell that the food that we're eating and sharing in Orchard Beach is open to everybody today. So we began to feel that we're free because we followed great generals in this nation that they're there to defy those who were oppressing them, stand up against all of them in order to demand their civil rights. Today, as we stand here, Washington just passed a bill telling Puerto Ricans, you're not really free, you're a colony. You cannot declare bankruptcy. Donald Trump owns business in Puerto Rico. He can declare bankruptcy. He just did that a month ago. But we as an American citizen, we're not free. We cannot declare bankruptcy. Forget that thousands of Puerto Ricans have given their lives to fight for democracy. You're not free. You're a colony. So the struggle continues. So again, I want to thank my colleague because through your resolution, you allowed me, and through the struggle of those in the past, for someone like me to get up here, register to vote in any language. We paved the way in 1965. We began to be free to register to vote in Spanish language. We are free today. Well, obviously, the struggle continues. My heart goes out to the people, the victims in Orlando, Florida. My heart goes out to the victims because the bill that was passed in Congress will force Puerto Ricans to accept $4 minimum wage in Puerto Rico. How can any family afford to be free under such horrible conditions? How can anyone afford to pay the high rents, whether in Puerto Rico or even right here today? So the struggle continues. Let me end it right here because I see my leader, Mr. Blake, looking at me, and Mr. Pichardo. So it's time for me to say thank you for the opportunity both of you have given me to get up here and speak. I love the picture I see. Both of you sitting up there. We're on our way of getting our proper place in the history that we have earned in this country and in this state. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Mr. Lopez on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to speak in support of the spirit of this resolution, and the resolution itself speaks to the testimony of our people as a society in the pursuit of freedom. The sacrifice and the many years of struggle, and the struggle which continues, and Juneteenth not just reflecting an end to a culture, a way of life that was degrading, that was destructive, but opening the door to fulfill the promise of America that was envisioned by our nation's founders. And the premise being, and confirmed over time, and we heard reference to Martin Luther King, where he spoke about a time where people would not be judged on the color of their skin, but on the content of their character. And so whether it's ethnicity, whether it's gender orientation, whether it's economic status, whether it's education, this resolution is intended to reflect us as one people, as Americans, as peace-loving and freedom-loving people who work with each other to stand up and build our lives and our families and build peace in a troubled world. So I view this resolution as an encouragement. I view this resolution, the celebration of Juneteenth, that is, as a day which we reflect and benchmark who we are as a people and where we are going. I see it as a reason for pulling together. I don't see it as a reason for anything other than an encouragement to reflect on the soul of what America is intended to be. And with that said, I will be supporting this resolution, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Mr. Levine on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the descendant of grandparents born into a world in which they had no rights whatsoever, I am very pleased to rise in support of this bill. I'm also very pleased and very grateful to live in Lincoln's America, not Jefferson Davis's America. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Levine. Ms. Walker on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It brings me great pride to stand in support of this very important resolution. It provided an opportunity while I was sitting here to reflect on the many advances that our people have come to, but it also allows me to recognize just how far we need to go. Juneteenth is a national, it should be a national holiday. I know that it is a state-recognized holiday in the state of Texas, which is the origin of this very historic occasion. There are 43 other states within the United States that recognize Juneteenth as a state holiday. So I want to call on the state of New York as well to recognize Juneteenth as a state holiday. There are many states that also provide a day off to most state employees. And I think if, we are all standing up here in support of our colleague who has historically introduced this piece of resolution so that we are always conscious and thinking of the contributions that we have made as a Black people to this country, I would request that we can also join together so that we can call on Governor Cuomo to consider Juneteenth for one of our state holidays. Thank you, and I support this resolution.
Thank you. On the resolution, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted.
Assembly Resolution 1515, rules at the request of Ms. Titus. Legislative resolution memorializing Governor Andrew M. Cuomo to proclaim June 13th through the 17th, 2016 as School Crossing Guard Recognition Week in the state of New York.
On the resolution, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The resolution is adopted.
Assembly Resolution 1516, rules at the request of Mr. Zabrowski. Legislative resolution memorializing Governor Andrew M. Cuomo to proclaim June 12, 2016 as Filipino Independence Day in the state of New York.
On the resolution, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted.
Assembly Resolution 1517, rules at the request of Mr. Murray. Legislative resolution memorializing Governor Andrew M. Cuomo to proclaim June 30th, 2016 as Arthrogryposis Awareness Day in the state of New York.
Mr. Murray on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Arthrogryposis multiplex congenita, otherwise known as AMC, is a rare condition that occurs in utero. Arthrogryposis is an umbrella diagnosis with 400 identified subtypes. Babies are born with multiple joint contractures. That's multiple joints that are permanently stuck in one position and have very little flexibility and range of motion. Now, some common joint contractures include clubbed feet, extended or flexed knees and elbows, dislocated and or extremely rotated hips, internally rotated shoulders, fingers that are fisted or extended. Now, while not fully known, this is believed to be caused by the unborn baby not moving properly during the fetal development, at no fault, of course, to the mother. Now, this occurs 1 in 3,000 live births. There is no known cure for AMC, but treatments such as serial casting, various therapies, splinting, tendon releases, along with other surgeries, can improve a person's independence level and quality of life. Though AMC is non-progressive, the contractures can recur even after these various treatments. And we've seen an example today with several families that joined us and they brought their children with them that have served as an extreme inspiration to us all of how hard work, dedication, and going through these surgeries and these therapies can, in fact, help. As of 2015, June 30th is recognized as Arthrogryposis Awareness Day in 24 other states, and it gives me great pleasure to be able to join today with all of you to make New York the 25th state. On June 30th, families across the nation will be wearing the color blue to honor those affected by arthrogryposis. I urge my colleagues today to join me in making New York the 25th state to recognize this and bring awareness to this disorder. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. On the resolution, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted.
Assembly Resolution 1518, rules at the request of Mrs. Robinson, legislative resolution memorializing Governor Andrew M. Cuomo to proclaim June 13th through 19th, 2016 as Men's Health Week in the state of New York in conjunction with observance of National Men's Health Week.
On the resolution, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted.
Assembly Resolution 1519, rules at the request of Ms. Salages, legislative resolution memorializing Governor Andrew M. Cuomo to proclaim July 2016 as Fibroid Awareness Month in the state of New York.
On the resolution, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted.
Assembly Resolution 1520, rules at the request of Mrs. Dupree, legislative resolution memorializing Governor Andrew M. Cuomo to proclaim October 15th, 2016 as Pulmonary Fibrosis Day in the state of New York.
On the resolution, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted.
Assembly Resolution 1521, rules at the request of Mrs. Rosenthal, legislative resolution memorializing Governor Andrew M. Cuomo to proclaim October 25th, 2016 as Epidermolysis Bullosa Awareness Day in the state of New York, more commonly known as Butterfly Children's Awareness Day.
On the resolution, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. We're going to begin consenting on page 12 of the main calendar, beginning with Rules Report 174 by Ms. Warner.
Assembly Number 8596A, Rules Report 174, Ms. Warner, an act to amend the correction law.
On a motion by Ms. Warner, the Senate bill is before the House. The Senate bill is advanced. Read the last section.
This act shall take effect immediately.
The clerk will record the vote. Mr. Morelli.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Friends, this is our first vote of the day. People should cast their votes, and those who are listening in but are not in the chamber should make their way in so they may cast their first vote of the day.
Members, first vote of the day. Please return to chamber to cast your first vote.